I know I was supposed to get this out yesterday, but I had a bunch of school stuff to do. Sorry about that. Anyway, welcome to Movie Face Off. Actually, today it's TV Face Off. For those of you longtime viewers of mine, you probably remember that I did a TV Face Off where I focused on the first season of every Marvel Netflix show: Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist. Now, in that TV Face Off, I only focused on the first seasons of each show because that was basically all there was for three of the four shows. But now we have second seasons for all of them, which means it's time for a sequel, baby. Season 2 of Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist. Oh boy, this is going to be pretty exciting because three of these second seasons happened after the Defenders miniseries. And it'll be interesting to see what new stuff they come up with for those shows. But anyway, we've got 5 rounds of this, 4 different shows. Let's do this. Round 1, story. Now, season 2 of Daredevil was the first of the second season to come out, so let's start with that. Season 2 of Daredevil sees Matt Murdock in his more iconic costume, fighting crime in Hell's Kitchen, of course, and his big enemy of this season is the Hand. So he ends up fighting against the Hand in a big climatic battle on top of rooftops, which unfortunately leads to the death of Elektra, his returned love interest. And basically, after this, Matt Murdock just sorts of stays out of crime fighting for a little while until the Defenders miniseries. The story of Jessica Jones season 2 sees Jessica Jones basically being pushed to learn more about how she got her abilities and rediscovers her assumed dead mother, which forms a unique relationship because she also has her own abilities, and a strained relationship on her foster sister and best friend. As Jessica Jones, at the end of the season, sort of actually tries to start moving forward with her life, even forming a new relationship one with a neighbor of hers, a romantic one. Season 2 of Iron Fist is basically where Danny now has to deal with his former best friend. I forgot his name, but he's from Kung Lung. And he is obsessed with obtaining the power of the Iron Fist for himself. The show ends with Danny's former friend going into prison, Danny going off to Asia to learn some stuff he's had questions about, and Colleen now has the power of the Iron Fist in New York City fighting crime. Season 2 of Luke Cage sees Luke going up against the Bushmaster as well as Mariah a little bit. He actually finds himself in possession of Harlem's Paradise, and he seems to be willing to try to use this for a good, law-abiding organization place, but it seems to end on a dark note a little bit, seems signifying that Luke Cage could become the next crime boss of New York. Now, the story of all of these seasons is very interesting. However, I think the one that seems the most interesting is season 2 of Luke Cage because it seems to add a parallel with Bushmaster, not really making him a straightforward villain. And also, we see Luke Cage trying to see if he can use the resources of bad guys to do good without resorting to being a bad guy himself. And we have yet to see how that actually turns out, which is very interesting. So, I'm going to give this round to Luke Cage. Round 2, action. Man, I've already spent like 5 minutes in the first round. Anyway, Luke Cage has that awesome action. Of course, he's bulletproof, so it's basically just him just throwing stuff, just punching people. But Bushmaster has some increased stuff, so that puts up some interesting fights in the show. Now, Iron Fist, the action has gotten better. I'm actually kind of entertained by the action sequences of this show. But it's really not at a point where I'm like saying, holy crap yet. Maybe with Colleen Wing now having the Iron Fist, that'll change. But that's for a future season. Jessica Jones really isn't much of an action show. I mean, even back in the first season, the biggest action related thing I can remember is her snapping the neck of Kilgrave, which was over in an instant. So though that's not really where the focus of Jessica Jones is in either of these seasons. Daredevil, though, it's known for action, especially with the introduction of the Hand and the Punisher. It keeps you on your feet, keeps you wondering what's going to happen next. Well, how is Matt going to handle this situation? So with that being said, Daredevil Season 2 takes his round. Now let's go to Season 3. Tone of the show. The tone of Daredevil Season 2 remains consistent with the tone of Season 1. It's a very well done, dark, grounded superhero show. But really, this kind of tone isn't really anything we haven't seen before, especially with actually Arrow of the CW show, which actually came out several years before the first season of Daredevil even. So Daredevil does a good job of being the dark, grounded superhero show, but it's not the only one, and it has similarities to others. Luke Cage sort of takes a different kind of tone in Season 2, which is good, but seeing as how he is delving into a more darker aspect, it sort of leads him away from the upbeat, inspirational black superhero that he was portrayed as Season 1. I mean, this will lead to an interesting story in Season 2, but it is a little bit conflicting. The tone of Iron Fist Season 2 changes for the better as we see characters actually improve in personality and likability. But since it does deal with sort of the supernatural stuff and other sorts of similar topics and themes, I just think of a whole bunch of stuff that actually did this better than that Iron Fist. Jessica Jones Season 2 is a slow burn, similar to Luke Cage Season 2. Well, that's part of the atmosphere of that show in general. It's a sort of like a noir, superhero noir. It takes its time investigating, exploring, coming up with a mystery that I actually really enjoyed watching. And it makes it a little bit more unique. So I'm giving this round to Jessica Jones. Now let's go with round 4, most improved. Okay, I think we all know who's going to win this round, but humor me, okay? Daredevil Season 2 has improved on Season 1 in several aspects, including action, like I said. But it really doesn't take itself that much above Season 1. In fact, that people are still arguing whether or not Season 1 or Season 2 of Daredevil is the better show. Both second seasons of Luke Cage and Jessica Jones are good, but it has been criticized for having a slow burn, really taking its slow time during the first half of the show. So there is some criticism to be had there. Now, Iron Fist, when it started off back in Season 1, it was not off to a good start, to say the least. But surprisingly, Season 2 actually earned back a lot of favor from a lot of people. I mean, on Rotten Tomatoes, it still has a rotten score, but it's in the 50% range now. Part of that may be because instead of the usual 13 episodes, they cut down to, 10, I Yeah, the action has certainly stepped up. Danny Rand is no longer just a simply whiny, ooh, I know how to do Eastern type stuff, white boy, douchebag character. He actually seems to have grown as a character. And the villain of season 2 is a little bit more interesting, and there is more interesting stuff going on. So, gonna have to give this round an Iron Fist, like you probably were all thinking it was going to be. Now let's go on to the fifth and final round. The hero themselves. Which hero makes the puts in the best performance in the second season of their show? Well, like I said, Iron Fist sees Danny Rand go from that naive, whiny, white boy douchebag character into someone who actually is realizing he has responsibilities, he has a job to do. I mean, he's still a little bit silly and ridiculous from time to time, but I actually kind of like him now. I mean, he's really improved, like, his skills as a fighter, but also as just as a person in general. That being said, I wouldn't necessarily say he's my favorite of the defenders. Sorry. Now, back in season 1 of this version of TV Face Off, I believe I gave this round to Luke Cage and the entire Face Off to Luke Cage. Now, back in season 1, Luke Cage was portrayed as like this inspirational superhero for black people. Because he's like, bulletproof black man. And he was portrayed very well and was actually really fun and entertaining to watch. He still is, but now he's taking this darker turn that will see him move away from being a hero to maybe being something of a crime boss in the future, which really puts his future in jeopardy. So, while it would seem it would be easy for me to give this to Luke Cage again, seeing as how his path is starting to go down to this possible crime territory, I don't really think I can give it to him. So he's out. Now, so I guess now it's between Jessica Jones and Daredevil. Now, at the end of Daredevil season 2, we actually see him take a step back from crime fighting until he comes back in the Defenders miniseries, following the death of his love, Elektra. Which is understandable. That's sort of what Spider-Man in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 did. And Jessica Jones isn't really much of a hero, generally speaking. I mean, she gets talked into and gets pushed into doing the hero thing to do, but she's someone that really doesn't go out looking for it unless it's part of her investigation. It usually just comes to her. Now, at the end of Jessica Jones season 2, that looks like it could maybe going into a different direction, her being a more active superhero, which does seem to give her a slight advantage over Daredevil. But throughout Daredevil season 2, we see him struggle with how he should do what he does, especially with Frank Castle now in the picture. But we see him stick to his principles, which is a hard thing for any superhero to do. And he does put in some really great performance as well. I'm going to have to give this to Daredevil. He portrays what a superhero should be doing throughout the second season. So, the round and the face-off goes to Daredevil. Whew. All right. Well, that was fun. Like, comment, subscribe, share. And this is Dr. Cinema. See you guys next time.